So, the solar panels are one part of the system, and there's also battery storage and, EV charging. So, can you talk to us
Yeah.
about, first off, what those both mean and what they are, and
Yeah.
then how, adding those can kind of change the trajectory of your solar energy usage and savings?
Yeah. This is out of all the questions that we have today, this is probably the best question. This is it's new to the industry. Solar's been around a while. People more or less know kind of the gist of how solar works, at least in the fundamental aspect of it. But battery storage and EV charging are two critical components that people just overlook a lot. And, that could be because of budget, and rightly so. These things are expensive, but they can be huge vehicles to increase ROIs, increase and drive revenue even, and I'll get into that a little bit. But when we talk about battery storage, we're talking about batteries, and EV charging can come in two different flavors. You've got level 2 charging, which is slower speeds where you're gonna stay 4 hours or more parked in a location. Generally, level 2 chargers aren't that great for driving revenue. It's more of an amenity at a property, meaning you're going to give your employees some free charging, as a perk for work, or maybe you're a hotel and you want to allow your guests to just plug in overnight while their car sits there. Um, and then batteries, they're so much more than just backup power. They can drive immense savings. I mean, like in California, for instance, a battery has an ROI that's 2 times as fast as solar. Like, that's how
Hmm.
much batteries make a difference in the economics of a solar system, and it varies greatly depending on where you are in the country.
Mhm.
Here in Texas, backup is probably the key feature that people look for, but a battery can also provide demand charge savings. So, what is a demand charge? So, commercial clients get charged differently than residential. If you're paying your residential bill, you're paying a rate multiplied by how many kilowatt hours you consumed in that month. Pretty basic. And then there's probably some fees as well. As a commercial client, you get charged for that as well. Then you have another part of your bill that's specifically for demand charges, and that's how much energy did you use in an instance. And the analogy that I always use is, say you have a swimming pool in your backyard. You're going to fill that swimming pool. You're going to pay the water for the water regardless. But you have two options. You can fill it slowly with your garden hose, or you can fill it super quick with a fire hose. So you've got the water charge that's going to be the same regardless. But if you use that fire hose and fill your pool quickly, you're going to get a big penalty attached to that. A battery can help reduce that. So when you're using power as a building, you can set your batteries up to every time your EV charger kicks on, or every time your HVAC system kicks on. Maybe you're a medical building and you have a MRI machine, or you're a car wash and you're running cars through a car wash. There's all sorts of things that give you a spiky load, as we call it in the industry, where
Hmm.
these machineries will kind of fluctuate between on and off. And when they're on, they're using an immense amount of power. And when they're off, it's very little. So to shelter yourself from the demand charges, which can be astronomical in certain places, you can set the battery to discharge when those pieces of equipment are on. So you're
Hmm.
basically buffering the bid and the grid from the grid, and there's a lot of savings to be had there. Other functions are like demand response programs, which are available with certain participating utilities. Those can be really lucrative. And what those are, basically, when a utility has a forecasted event, or maybe there's a weather related event like a heat wave or something, you might even get a cell text on your cell phone from the utility company that says, hey, like we're going to have a heat wave next Wednesday. Would you mind bumping your thermostat up from, 72 to, 85? Like just be uncomfortable for the day and don't use power. That's what they want. So um, if you enroll your battery asset during those moments, they'll discharge your battery. They'll basically ping your battery and say, hey, will you discharge during this heat wave we're having, or whatever it may be, whatever the event is. And we're going to pay you a lot of money per kilowatt hour. So you can enroll your backup asset as a revenue generating asset as well. In fact, that model can be so lucrative. There's certain utilities in the deregulated sections of Texas that actually give you a free battery
Wow.
during this. And I'm talking myself out of battery sales here, but the program exists, and it's because it's lucrative. So that's very, very cool. And that helps when the grid is stressed, it uses that power, and they don't have to spin up their own peaker plants, which is incredibly expensive and um,
Mhm.
not great for the environment. So you're avoiding that. So it's a win all around, to be honest.
Yeah.
Um, there's other benefits such as rate switches in certain markets. So rate switches are like California has these all over. If you add a battery, you can swap your rate plan. You just have to be careful with some of those rate switches because they'll invert your demand charges with your kilowatt hour charge. And so the only way to not get a super penalty to that is add solar. So really,
Mm.
solar and batteries can be very symbiotic and synergistic.
If your roof needs answers, subscribe now to the Ask a Roofer podcast. We've got your questions covered, one episode at a time. Go to AskARoofer.com to submit your questions and learn more. Stay tuned and keep those questions coming.